Welcome back to Melody Feud. I'm your host, Melody, and we are here with our finalist, Melody, who is about to answer our all or nothing question. Your category is movies. How do you feel? I'm feeling great, Mel. Don't call me Mel. We are not close like that. Oh, okay. For $50,000. This horror movie follows the plot of a pale masked killer as he taunts and kills the teens of his town on the holiday which shares the title of the movie. Oh, I know this one. What is Halloween? Oh, I am sorry. The actual correct answer was Thanksgiving. What the Hi everyone, welcome back to Melody Ever After. So today, or actually about last week ago, if you're watching this now, I recently watched the new horror movie slasher film, Thanksgiving. I'm gonna give my honest review of this movie and tell you what I thought about it. I don't know why I liked it as much as I did. And I know I say that about a lot of movies, but there have been a lot of movies that I really just didn't like, I promise. I know it seems like the ones I've been posting about. Oh my god. I didn't need that precious family heirloom anyway. Since I watched the movie, I'm just gonna get straight into it. There are going to be some spoilers. I don't know if anybody is really caring that much about spoilers for this movie, but I do want to give a warning anyway. I'm a nice person. It follows the story of a girl named Jessica who lives in Plymouth, as in Plymouth Rock, Thanksgiving. You catch the drift. Jessica's dad and now stepmom own this superstore called Right Mart, and they have everything. They're like the mega Target. They're the mega Walmart. They're the place that all the people of Plymouth want to be on Black Friday. This movie takes place the day before Black Friday on Thanksgiving. Jessica's dad is trying to decide whether he's going to close the store or not. He can't close the store. He's got this huge sale. He's having this deal where every purchase for the first 100 customers gets a waffle iron. Oddly specific, weirdly accurate. Jessica is saying that Thanksgiving is about a time to give back, and the fact that he's running up sales is just kind of under the influence of his new, younger, hotter wife and Jessica's new stepmother, who, if you haven't caught the drift yet, doesn't have a very good relationship with her. Jessica and her friends are going to go to the movies, and they end up having to make a stop. You know, one guy needs a phone, one girl needs a new lip gloss, and they're like, can we go to the Right Mart? Can we go to your dad's store? And she's like, don't worry, I can get us in the back door, but make it quick and don't do a bunch of crazy stuff. It's Black Friday. Everyone in Plymouth is here. We cut to a scene of this huge crowd that is trying to get into this Right Mart. And they go in through the back, and when the customers outside waiting for the store to open see these teenagers in the store, they don't realize that they're just grabbing a few things and probably would have paid the same price that they were going to be paying for them anyway, because the girl's dad owns the store, and they misinterpret it as them getting early access to the deals, even though none of those teenagers, to my knowledge, wanted a waffle iron. But they get really mad and they start pushing up against the glass, and there's this huge crowd surge which ends up killing several people, injuring several people. One of the friends, Bobby, ends up getting his arm crushed. One of the security guards ends up dead. They crush down the door. Now, I will say, this scene I have mixed feelings about. The actual surge scene where the glass breaks wasn't too believable. I mean, there was plenty of space between the guy and the glass door. There was no reason for that door specifically to break, but once they all started running in, I have been in situations where crowds have been almost that crazy. Going into concerts, going into theme parks, people want in. They don't want to wait 1 second. So when I'm seeing this guy get shoved up against some broken glass and people pushing, I'm like, yeah, that could probably happen. And maybe it was because I was watching the movie by myself, but this started to run up my anxiety a little bit. I was watching all these people get trampled and falling on the glass shards, and it was a pretty terrible incident. When you think about current events of crowd surges at concerts and things like that, and you get told about how dangerous they can be, seeing a horror movie display that kind of danger, even if it is a little bit overdone, is still kind of a eerie concept. It's pretty uncanny to see that happen in a movie, because that's kind of one of the more mundane things that just happen that we don't really talk about and you don't really see represented in horror media. So I thought the idea of this catastrophic crowd surge was a pretty original idea, and I enjoyed seeing that being incorporated into a slasher movie. My first thought was, I thought this was gonna be a B movie. This is a little bit actually scary. Like, for a slasher movie, I don't find slasher movies that scary. They're more just shock factor, but it was definitely giving the shock factor. I may have misjudged the movie because Addison Rae is in the cast, and no shade to Addison Rae. I just don't really take it seriously when a TikToker who is famous for doing lip syncing and dancing as an actor in a film. I don't take that as a serious thing, and I completely misjudged because she was fine. She was fine in the movie. It was corny. Yeah, it's gonna be corny. It's a movie called Thanksgiving. I was actually a little bit surprised about how serious the movie was taking itself. If some of you want to go back and watch my Mad Heidi video, or for the real ones who have been here since my Mad Heidi video, shout out to you guys. If any of you have already watched my Mad Heidi video, you guys are like the best people on the planet. But if you've watched my Mad Heidi video, you know that I love exploitation films and B movies, and I think they're like some of the most hilarious and clever things ever, and they have this potential to be very enjoyable and funny. I did not find this movie that funny. Was it a B movie? Yeah, but it wasn't a self-satirical B movie. Yes, it was satire, but it was more camp than it was self-satirical. It took itself very, very seriously as a movie, and if it wouldn't have been a Thanksgiving-themed movie, it had the potential, I will say, to be a genuine slasher film that's not a B movie. So after the crowd surge, one of the teenagers is recording all of this going down, and he posts the video to YouTube, which goes completely viral, or something like YouTube, whatever YouTube is in this universe. It goes completely viral. People are watching it. People are urging Right Mart to shut down every Thanksgiving after that. This video has kind of blown up, and it's kind of this like taboo thing that the town just doesn't like to talk about. A lot of people from the town were caught on camera being crazy, running people over. A lot of people got bad reputations from it. People's loved ones were kind of broadcast dying. It was this really taboo thing. Later mentioned that teenager had taken the video down, but someone keeps re-uploading it and someone keeps reposting it. And it kind of sets up the fact that they're being watched. They're being targeted because this video went up. So the following year, the whole town is urging Right Mart not to open for Black Friday. The town loves Thanksgiving. They're Plymouth. Thanksgiving is their thing. And they're waiting to see if the owner of Right Mart is going to shut down for Black Friday. And so far, Jessica is asking her dad, and Jessica's dad says, I've hired extra security, but we're still gonna be open. And she is just livid because she thinks that it's all her stepmom's fault, and this is all her stepmom's influence, and there's actually some decent family drama there. The town of Plymouth loves Thanksgiving, and they have this big Thanksgiving parade. They do this commercial at the home of John Carver, one of the first settlers at Plymouth Rock, and they're all awaiting this giant festival where everyone wears John Carver masks. Until someone in a John Carver mask starts committing some crimes around town, and by crimes, I mean slaughters. They are cutting people in half and poking fun at Right Mart by hanging them from the signage on the building. And it's starting to get really gross. That's when Jessica and her friends are tagged in this photo at a Thanksgiving table saying that they're invited to this Thanksgiving thing, they can't wait to have them, blah, 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 and everyone's like, who's John Carver? They soon realize that this John Carver on Instagram is the killer who is doing these slashings around town, and every single one of those people in their friend group has a place card at this table that they keep posting. So they think, oh my god, we're next. All of the victims that John Carver kills were involved in the video at the Right Mart. They were either some of the first people who were inside, which was Jessica and her group of friends, or some of the people in the video who were caught trampling people, pushing people, shoving people. Someone has been wronged by this crowd surge the previous year at Right Mart, and they want revenge. So now they're going after all the people who acted like animals during this crowd surge, and they are out for revenge. I already said revenge, didn't I? Soon, all of the people who were on the place cards in the Instagram posts start to get picked off one by one. And what this killer is doing is recreating this giant Thanksgiving dinner in the most twisted way possible. I'd love to say that this is far-fetched, and who would ever watch this? Because he's decapitating heads and putting them on the plates, and he's cutting people in half and saying Black Friday deals, half off, and he's killing people and baking them and making them into turkeys, using someone's body as a wine cooler, and blah 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 blah. It's very corny, and I would love to say that's corny, no one would watch that, no one would like that. But honestly, as someone who watched a lot of Criminal Minds growing up, it did remind me of those weird Spencer Reedified Criminal Minds episodes where, like, the lady had living dolls or something like that. That was completely outlandish, but it was so freaky that people were just like, I can't get enough of this. Give me more. If you've ever seen, like, The Farm, where they treat people like animals, it kind of reminded me of that, just the weirdness of the kills, or like I said, some of the really weird Criminal Minds episodes. He's basically trying to recreate, the killer is trying to recreate this Thanksgiving dinner with the bodies of the people who were involved in the viral video of the Right Mart accident. And of course, our little sweetheart Jessica is the final girl, and we're gonna have to see if she and her father and all of her friends survive this massacre. And that's about it for the plot. I'm not gonna spoil all of it. Now I'm gonna do what the title of this video implies I was going to do, which is give my actual thoughts and opinions, aka a review of this movie. I wanna say this cast was surprisingly really good. Aside from having Addison Rae in it, who's just a household name these days, there was a lot of star-studded people on the cast list that I was like, wait a minute. I was like, Patrick Dempsey, what are you doing here? Like I said, Patrick Dempsey was in it. He was one of the main characters, as well as Gina Gershon, who was from Pretty in Pink. She also stars in Thanksgiving, the movie. Comedian Tim Dillon was in it, and Rick Hoffman from Suits was also in it. So it had a lot of decent actors in it, and for a B-movie, I was not expecting that. What I was expecting was more of like a spoof of Halloween, you know, thus the name Thanksgiving would imply. But what I got was an actual slasher movie with a decent cast. And yeah, some of the writing was a little bit corny, almost like it was written for a B movie. It was written for a grindhouse exploitation film. But what it was more of just a regular slasher movie with a little bit of a corny subtext themed around Thanksgiving in it. And yeah, from an outsider's perspective looking in, a movie about a killer who wants to get revenge on something that happened on a Black Friday in the name of Thanksgiving sounds ridiculous. It is a corny plot, but tell me why it sucked me in. I watched this movie completely alone, so I had no one to laugh at this with, no one to give me any opinions. I was just sitting by myself in the theater watching this, and I remember thinking, why am I getting into this? Why am I invested? I don't really define it as a B movie, because for me, B movies are something that I have no stake in. There are no stakes. I go in expecting a B movie, and what I get is a B movie. It's hilarious, it's goofy, it's corny, it's pulpy, it's campy, and it's done. But this wasn't a B movie because there were actual parts where I was like, oh, wait a minute. I'm trying to figure this plot out. There's actually a really good plot going on here. I'm trying to figure out who the killer is. I did figure out who the killer was pretty quickly. Nancy Drewing aside, I was genuinely interested in this plot and I wanted to see how it ended. There were a lot of silly moments, but I was finding myself asking, wait a minute, why do I care? Now, the ending is something that could have been better. That's where I think it really started to feel like a B movie, was right at the very end after, you know, the killer's revealed and everything. It's just like, but I was taking it so seriously before. So that kind of snapped me out of it. You know, I was kind of awaiting a serious ending, but then there was a very dramatic, stupid ending involving a giant inflatable turkey, some propane, an explosion, and a getaway car. And that's when the goofiness started to like kind of set in with me. I was like, kind of took me aback, because I was like, I was enjoying this, and now I'm supposed to be laughing at it, but I was enjoying it a minute ago, and now we're making jokes again. My pros for this movie are this. It's something that I just thought was going to be a spoof of Halloween. It was going to be a B movie. What it was an actual slasher film. I have seen non-B movie, non-intentionally B movies, I guess, slasher films that aren't as scary as this. This did have some good scares in it. It had a decent plot twist. It had a lot of dimension to the characters, which I feel is another thing that kind of separates it from an exploitation film. It had flaws and thoughts and complex relationships, which is not something I associate with a B movie. I was expecting to hate everything about it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have planned on making a video about this. I really wanted to be a hater and just hate on this the whole time, but sorry, I can't. Cons? It could not decide if it wanted to be a B movie or not. There were a lot of scenes that were funny, that were layered in some very serious scenes. And while that is super enjoyable because it would shock you with this gory, anxiety-inducing scene and then throw in a couple jokes immediately after, and it was like, oh, haha, and it was very serotonin-y. I was really getting my little endorphin rush from this movie. I did enjoy it. But it almost felt like it didn't know what it wanted to be. It wanted to be a B movie, but it wanted to be a realistic, believable slasher film. And I really feel like if it just would have picked one or the other, I would have been able to give it a higher score for my personal rating. Currently, as of right now, it is certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. Rotten Tomatoes critics score it in the 80s, haven't really checked, and it has a 79 currently for audience score. And I think 78, 79, C average if you're in America. Average. Average movie, it's good, it's average. I give it like a C on the US grading scale. Wasn't bad, wasn't amazing. I did enjoy it. Those are my thoughts and opinions on the movie Thanksgiving. It was a wild ride. It was a lot of things packed in one. If you enjoyed this video, you've been watching Melody Ever After, I'd really appreciate a like and subscribe. I'm a video essay channel. I love to do videos on all things pop culture, video games, movies, TV shows, especially if they have a little bit of a spooky or creepy undertone to them. That's really my niche. So if you enjoyed this video or you think that that'll be something you're interested in, go ahead and check me out. Until next time.